Thank you so much. Okay, so everyone, I'm Nisa from Karsafni and I'm also Chrono on Discord. So today we are going to talk about ADHD and me. So benda ni is about macam pengenalan apa ADHD, what is ADHD. Untuk orang yang baru diagnose, you guys might macam be so confused about things macam happening in your body, in your brain. Some of you maybe macam dah give up dah. Benda sebenarnya dah ni aku baca benda semua benda pun tak faham juga. Tak tahu juga. Okay, tak apa. It's okay, don't hate yourself. Jangan benci diri sendiri. Jangan benci otak yang Tuhan dah bagi. Jangan benci kelainan. Jangan benci kita punya kelainan. Itu yang paling penting. Okay, so saya cerita kat situ, hi, saya otak ADHD. Jangan benci saya, marilah kena saya. Betul, masa saya mula-mula diagnose 2 years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago. Actually kan macam time tu kan, I macam extremely mad tau sebab my brain ni tak nak dengar cakap. Memang macam tuan dia, tapi except saya pun ada juga masa yang macam saya akan dengar cakap, tapi otak saya ni memang tak dengar langsung. Tak tahu apa nak. So saya macam geram dengan diri sendiri, saya marah diri sendiri macam tu kan. Tapi saya rasa macam you cannot love the person that you cannot love the brain that you hate. You cannot know the brain that you hate. Sama macam kalau kita benci diri sendiri, kita tak akan boleh berubah. Sama macam kalau kita benci the fact yang macam kita ni kuat makan, kita ni gemuk, kita tak akan boleh kurus. Kita bukan boleh macam change ourselves to better things. Okay, so let's see the first thing. Okay, yang hari ni kita nak cerita is kalau you baca the synopsis on the things, on the advertisement, I do not know what to say, what to call that, tapi kalau you baca that, that's good, but tapi I akan clarify again. Hari ni kita nak belajar pasal introduction, so kita akan start with the most important question. Orang yang dewasa ni ada ke ADHD? Biasanya kita dengar kat budak-budak je kan. Tapi sekarang ni saya nak cerita pasal bila kita pula, kita yang late diagnose ni, kita yang lewat usia, sometimes ada yang 40, ada 50 baru diagnose ADHD. Ada ke orang yang dewasa ni ada ADHD? Kita akan tengok pasal tu, and then also kenapa kita tak fokus macam orang lain. Okay, untuk kita akan macam cerahkan sikit untuk inattentive presentation, and then kenapa saya tak boleh duduk senyap macam orang lain untuk hyperactive presentation, and also kenapa saya tak boleh push diri sendiri untuk perform. Okay, untuk part ni kita akan cakap pasal executive dysfunction and also part of brain yang ADHD is affected affected dari ADHD. Okay, tak boleh ke kalau saya tak diagnose ADHD ni? Okay, apa yang keburukan ataupun benda yang macam side effect of undiagnosed and also unmanaged ADHD. Okay, first and foremost, saya nak buat disclaimer macam ada video. Saya bukan pakar in any way ke health manager. Saya pun tidak sebenarnya sangatlah menyimpang daripada kesihatan, tidak sangat menyimpang daripada mental health. Saya bukan medical professional or any sort. Saya just manusia, sekadar seorang ADHD yang pernah melalui apa yang orang lain yang baru diagnosis dia lalui, dan saya rasa macam keliru sampai tak tahu nak buat apa. Dan saya nak share apa yang saya belajar sepanjang saya kenali saya ni dengan korang semua. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so ADHD ni orang panggil attention deficit hyperactive disorder, tapi ada juga orang yang panggil executive dysfunction disorder. Ada juga orang yang panggil attention regulation disorder. Kenapa attention regulation? Sebab kita sebenarnya bukannya kurang attention, bukannya attention deficit, tapi cuma attention regulating problem. Macam kita tak boleh nak fokus kat satu benda tu betul-betul. And then sometimes fokus kita berada pada satu benda tu pada benda lain. Bukan kita tak boleh fokus, kita boleh fokus, cuma kita fokus kat benda yang tak sepatutnya. Itu yang kita nak bincangkan hari ni, daripada kenapa jadi macam tu, apa benda tu, and then kenapa executive dysfunction. Sebab itu pun kita akan bincang dalam part yang otak nanti. Kenapa otak kita ni sampai menyebabkan kita punya executive dysfunction, kita problem, kita tak boleh nak buat something dengan lebih sempurna berbanding orang lain. The completion of the task is not as further than other people and all that sort. Kalau suara saya tak jelas ke korang, tak faham ke, anyone can macam voice macam talking up and speak to me, sebab saya memang tak nampak apa-apa pun. Saya tak nampak chat, saya tak nampak apa. Itu just share screen dalam laptop. Ni cuma saya share screen dalam phone. So, let's see for the first point. Apa beza kanak-kanak dan dewasa? Okay. So, yang ke atas tu, benda yang kita hadap, kita tengah hadapkan jadi adult ni. During our adolescence kan, kita hadap atas ni. Kat bawah tu, benda yang kita dah hadap masa kita macam during our childhood. Dah beza dia. Okay, first is duduk dalam kelas dengan duduk dalam meeting. Duduk. Duduk senyap, duduk fokus, duduk kena dengar. Okay, I don't want to relive that was boring. I understand if you guys also feel bad, like really have a really tough times in class and also in meetings. And then next thing is checking for details. Both dalam masa kelas ataupun masa kerja kami guna Excel. Okay, because I know because my job involving a lot of Excel. So there is two things, okay. Dua-dua kena attention to detail, dua-dua kena pandang benda tu betul-betul, dua-dua kena ikut format, dua-dua kena careful, kena letak nombor ke, letak tulisan ke, semua benda pun kena attention to details. So we are going to the next thing. Going to school on time and also going to work on time. Dua-dua pun memainkan macam, how can I say this? Dua-dua pun sebenarnya ialah benda yang memerlukan kita be on time, be punctual, menepati masa, which is kalau saya pun selalu lambat. Kalau tak terlalu awal, selalu lambat. Begitulah kita PhD ni kita tak ada macam moderation sangat. Kita tak nak pacing sangat. Kita macam akan terlalu ke satu benda tu. Sama ada kita terlalu lambat atau terlalu cepat. Begitu. So, pelik tak kalau kita rasa, pelik tak kalau benda yang kita dah hadap masa childhood, kita dah ada problem dulu, and then kita hadap situasi yang akan sama, dia sama dan dia sebenarnya serupa, cuma dia kita dibayar. Itu je beza dia. Benda yang sama berlaku masa kita dewasa, mustahil tak untuk kita punya ADHD tu muncul balik. Kita punya ADHD tu dah muncul dah masa kita sekolah. Cuma orang macam buat bodoh je sebab maybe sebab pandai ke, maybe sebab bakat ke, maybe sebab something yang macam better than other people yang menyebabkan orang lain macam overlook that symptom and go straight to the macam okay, dia ni just macam ni je, tak ada benda pun. And then bila kita adult, suddenly kita dah ada dalam workforce, suddenly kita kena wujud dalam society yang macam functional and also productive. Mustahil tak untuk benda tu keluar lagi sekali and suddenly people doesn't accept us anymore. Sebab suddenly kita sekarang tak ada bakat, sekarang tak pandai sebab semua orang pandai. Sekarang kita juga tak berapa nak macam people doesn't look past our other benefits, other advantages. So it's tak mustahil. Sangat tak mustahil kalau kita start ada ADHD symptom masa kita kerja balik. Masa kita kerja, masa kita dah dewasa. Ya, semula, even though masa study dulu dia tak ada apa-apa sangat pun. Tak mustahil. So, dia also yang macam masa dia uni atau masa dia sekolah menengah atas ataupun masa dia sekolah menengah sekalipun, dia dah start simptom tu dah macam makin intense, makin teruk and dia terpaksa jumpa doktor time tu. Tapi masa sekolah is good time to macam jumpa doktor. At least you still have time to fix yourself before you go into further education. And then kita akan tengok 3 presentation of ADHD. Okay. Okay. Saya nak mengenalkan kat 3 presentation of ADHD ni. Okay. Siapa yang ada attention? Okay, cuba tak sebut sikit dalam chat. Saya tak boleh tengok chat tapi insyaAllah pasti kalau saya tengok and then there's people who replying, I'm so happy, okay? Okay, siapa juga yang ada hyperactive? Okay, saya paling rare sebenarnya saya rasa orang yang memang so hyperactive. Kalau compare to attention ni sebenarnya ramai gila. Saya macam my whole life saya pernah tengok inattention ataupun combine, itu je. Itu combine pun susah nak jumpa. Okay, siapa sini yang combine? Okay, saya mengaku saya diagnosed sebagai ADHD in combined presentation. So, kita akan tengok all the symptom yang saya actually refer to DSM-5. You guys can refer back to DSM-5 kalau you guys rasa macam ragu-ragu ataupun you guys rasa macam betul ke apa Yunisa cakap ni? You guys can refer back. I'll leave the link in the end of the slide so you guys, and also share this slide somewhere and I'll macam share the link to you guys so you guys can go back to this slide and macam copy the link and see back to the research, the papers that I used to write this slide, okay? So, one of the things yang macam, after this kita akan cakap pasal dia punya symptom, dia punya punca and all that sort of stuff, but saya nak cakap pasal kriteria dulu, okay? First, the A is actually the criteria. The criteria yang panjang dia macam symptom macam ni. Error because kita boleh tengok kat this one, kat this image, ADHD adult, the symptom, okay, error because inattention, trouble completing tasks, easily distracted, avoidance of tedious work, itu untuk inattention, and therefore hyperactivity or impulsivity, frequent fidgeting, trouble sitting, difficulty with social boundaries and conversational self-restraint problems, itu untuk A. Okay, kalau you guys ada benda lah tu, either one presentation or both, high possibility yang you guys have ADHD as diagnosed by your physician. Please do not self-diagnose. Actually, seriously, please do not self-diagnose. Sebab bahaya. Sometimes ada orang yang dirasa diri ADHD padahal dia BPD, and then tak tahu macam mana dia boleh macam nak self-medicated ke apa ke. Dia self-medicated dengan cara orang ADHD. Na'udzubillah, memang makin teruk lah sebab as you guys know, medication ADHD ni tak berapa digalakkan untuk treat bukan BPD, bipolar. Medication ADHD ni tak digalakkan untuk treat people with bipolar. Even though dia ada comorbidity, dia akan ada sikit pun susah untuk doktor decide nak treat mana satu dulu. So, you guys jangan self-diagnose. Please go to a mental health professional. Kalau you guys tak tahu macam mana nak start, tapi kita akan habiskan ini. Okay, so dia was tadi saya cakap pasal A kan. So sekarang kita akan tengok B. B ni semua symptom kena wujud before stage O. My symptom kan, kita akan mix. Saya akan cerita pasal the things in this thing and also my own experience. Okay, saya ni daripada zaman saya tadika lagi dah nampak symptom tu keluar. Daripada zaman tadika lagi cikgu dah komplain ni sebab tak boleh duduk. Tak tahu apa perasaan kenapa, apa problem saya sebab saya jenis yang alhamdulillah lah saya high achiever, but also that is my poison lah. Dia macam double edged sword. Okay, next C. Tapi kalau korang kalau korang ada mesti ada symptom juga before 12 years old yang memang dah ada time tu. Okay, so we are going to take a look at that point C, which is impulsive symptom or attentive. Okay, kat 2 or more setting. Okay, saya punya experience, saya punya kat tadika. Bukan setakat kat tadika, kat rumah pun, ya Allah Tuanku. Saya still ingat lagi saya punya hyper tu sampai ada saya berdarah kepala. Oh, kesiannya. Saya rasa bersalah tapi time tu saya pun tak tahu masalah saya. So, and then also sometimes like doctors, sometimes playground, memang banyak sangat. And then D, clear evidence. Yang symptom to interfere with reduction of quality of social, academic or occupational functioning. Untuk saya start makan ubat bila saya determinate daripada kerja. Memang this is tapi it's important for us to know yang macam this is real also. Okay, the struggle is real. Saya pernah kena terminate daripada kerja saya sebab and then during the exit interview, this is the first time I fail in my life actually. And then during the first interview, dia terlalu banyak bergerak di sana. Sometimes saya tengok awak kat sana, kat sini, kat situ. Lepas tu kejawab pun tak siap. Bila awak kejawab siap, banyak pula salahnya. Lepas tu itu yang masa exit interview kan, yang dia cakap dengan saya tu yang saya macam remuk gila hati saya sebab I know at that point kan, kalau saya tak intervene with this ADHD symptoms, memang confirm sampai ke laut lah sampai Uzul Zalik lah saya punya saya dah at the end of my life pun saya tak boleh nak solve my problem. So at that time saya dah buat semua benda accept medication. So that's how I get my medication from doctors. Macam tu lah. Memang dia akan kacau saya punya occupational functioning lah kalau saya tak macam actually attend to it. Okay, so E, symptom do not occur exclusively during the course of schizophrenia or other psychotic disorder. Okay, yang ni saya akan saya nak clarify macam that's why saya kata jangan self-diagnose, sangat bahaya. Okay, even though you are student, even though you are someone who from macam you think saya tak ada duit, tapi Nisa saya tak ada duit, tapi Nisa saya tak ada sekian-sekian. Okay, it's okay. You if you're a student kan, I think you guys still can qualify at your hospital clinics ataupun universities clinic or universities hospital. Tapi kalau you guys tak ada betul-betul memang you guys punya university tak ada benda macam mental health ni, you guys can still go to Mentari or any government hospital, KK sekalipun to macam make a diagnosis. Okay. Macam mana cakap nanti I share my video. I dah buat video actually about that, but we gonna share about it. I'm gonna link it on Discord insyaAllah. So please someone remind me, okay? So sebab kenapa I tak balik? That's why I kata jangan self-diagnose. Certain times hyperactive ni dia boleh overlap dengan bipolar. Dia punya hyper dia boleh overlap dengan bipolar. Certain times ADHD punya RSD ni boleh overlap dengan bipolar. Certain times ADHD punya overthinking, daydreaming ni boleh overlap dengan anxiety. Macam itulah contoh dia. So kita tak nak benda lah tu. The most important thing, okay, saya cakap first and foremost, masa saya diagnose dulu, okay, and for information, I was diagnosed like macam 4 ke 5 kali. Punyalah tak percaya diri sendiri ada ADHD sampai banyak kali diagnose, okay. And during my 5th time, ke 4th time, but the latest one lah yang I diagnosed of my therapy session kan, it took me around 7 to 8 weeks to finish the diagnosis. Okay. Sebab betapa susahnya nak diagnose, betapa susahnya nak concludekan, okay, you memang ada ADHD. Memang susah sangat. That's why kat luar negara, diorang pakai MRI. Tak pakai MRI, maybe CT scan, dia nak tengok tempat mana yang kat dalam otak kita ni aktif untuk tentukan betul ada neurodevelopmental disorder ni. That's why memang tak digalakkan sangat korang untuk self-diagnose. Sebab ADHD ni, dia punya overlap dengan mental disorder lain sangat banyak. So, pergilah ke mental health professional korang. Okay, so for another next time, when I see this, kenapa saya tak boleh fokus dengan orang macam orang lain? Okay, kalau I know you guys memang terus nampak yang biru tu. Because that is the first thing yang mana macam make you pay attention to. Okay. Nombor 3, easily distracted by external stimuli. Okay, for your information, all these symptoms kan, I dah macam ringkas kan daripada DSM-5. Kalau you guys rasa macam baca DSM-5 tu boleh rosak kepala, boleh macam tertanggal screw, tak apa, you boleh baca di sini je. You memang dah ambil daripada DSM-5. Okay, so ni, okay, the number 3, easily distracted by external stimuli. That is actually the main things kenapa inattentive presentation ni susah sangat nak fokus. Okay, saya terangkan kenapa, but we're gonna look through this first. Difficulty attention to detail, difficulty attention, easily distracted by external stimuli, difficulty organizing tasks, absent-minded, mind or wandering elsewhere. Okay, maksudnya first, memang macam the nama actually say, inattention kan. So memang susah lah nak fokus, memang susah lah nak buka perhatian, especially bila jangka masa yang panjang. Tak kisahlah dalam kelas ke, dalam meeting ke. Saya sampai speed nak jorok pada orang. Saya letak je meeting. Sebab saya memang dah tahu dah. Biar je lah orang nak tengok pun pelik pun. Macam budak-budak sekalipun. Itu je lah saya punya accommodation saya untuk meeting. And then, difficulty organizing task. Memang orang yang inattention ni, bila dia ada problem untuk attention to detail, dia juga ada problem organizing benda-benda yang macam tentatif ke, even though barang sekalipun. Ini, okay, saya nanti saya beritahu banyak benda saya nak beritahu, but kita satu sebab kalau tak saya satu, saya pun penting nanti. Okay, so negative is my absent-minded or mind-wandering as well. Macam yang kita tahu inattentive, suka daydreaming, face cat lah. Saya tak biasa, masa saya kecil dulu, saya punya daydreaming saya lebih kepada maladaptive as a coping mechanism. Tapi so saya tak tahu sangat apa korang punya gelaran. Saya punya gelaran dulu di sana dulu. Saya suka gitar gas. Tapi kita akan cerita berjalan tu pasal kreatif nanti, okay? Okay, so saya nak terangkan macam mana otak orang yang attentive ni kalau korang ada inattentive presentation, doktor cakap ataupun your psychiatrist cakap you have inattentive presentation, okay? Ataupun dia tulis dalam report you have inattentive presentation. Kalau macam for me kan, memang dia tulis dalam report I, you have combined presentation. Okay, fine, fair enough. Okay, so kalau you guys tengok saya cakap macam tu ataupun your report ada mention macam tu, let's see kenapa, okay, your brain is wired that way. Okay, first thing is actually ni dah I cakap dalam bahasa pasar je, I terus terangkan with my own words je. Okay, orang biasa kan ada filter. Okay, dia orang punya stimulus, dia orang punya whole 5 stimuli ni, mata, telinga, hidung, mulut, tangan, kan semua, skin semua, diorang ada filter. Okay? Filter ni buat apa? Filter ni lah yang akan menentukan kalau benda tu jauh, dia tak akan dengar sangat. Benda tu dekat baru dia dengar. Kita yang ada di sini, benda jauh pun kita dengar jelas, benda dekat pun kita dengar jelas. Bila dah semua benda nak masuk, semua stimulus, semua sensation nak masuk, macam itulah sebab kenapa kita ni jadi overwhelmed. Itulah sebab kenapa kita ni tak boleh fokus. Sebab kita overwhelmed. Banyak sangat benda kita, senses kita terima. Untuk, maybe kita tak perasan sebab badan kita yang buat kerja kan. Most of the time our body yang macam react to things yang kita sendiri tak sedar. Okay? So, be compassionate to yourself. You don't even know what your brain is going through. So be soft to yourself so that you don't have to hurt other people. And especially you don't have to hurt yourself. Sebab kalau you tak be kind to yourself, everyone else cannot be kind to you because you don't allow kindness in your life. Okay? That was one thing. Second thing is also because the MN, the default mode network dalam otak orang ADHD ni, dia lagi activated. Okay? DMN ni apa benda? DMN ni macam, okay, otak kita ada 2 mood. Okay, satu yang mood yang memang kalau kita tengah fokus, saya tak ingat apa nama benda lah tu tau. Betul, saya tak ingat apa nama bila kita fokus, kita tengah buat kerja, itu ada satu mood. DMN ni, when we are macam just doing our thing. Macam kita tak buat kerja, kita tak buat apa, kita just macam existing. Okay? Otak kita, masa kita just existing tu tak ada apa-apa macam mission, tak ada apa-apa benda yang nak kena buat. That we call DMN. Okay? So bila DMN ni, dia untuk orang yang ada ADHD ni, dia lagi activated daripada otak orang biasa. Meaning kita lagi senang, lagi prone to, lagi have more tendency untuk daydreaming sebab DMN mode kat dalam otak kita dia lagi heightened, lagi sensitif, lagi kuat daripada orang biasa. So that's why kita ni susah sangat nak fokus. Orang attentive especially susah sangat nak fokus sebab mood dalam otak kita ni dia dah heightened, dia dah another level daripada orang biasa. Okay, so apa impak dia? Bila orang yang attentive ni, kita boleh tengoklah dia tak pay attention to details, dia senang terganggu, dia ada trouble managing time and task, and then lepas tu dia lupa nak buat kerja. Sometimes kerja tak siap, sometimes terganggu sebab banyak sangat benda around them. Okay, but impak is one thing. Kalau kita nak selesaikan masalah, kita tengok daripada punca. So, kalau you guys tak faham juga punca, please say it in the chat. Nanti at the end of this info dumping, nanti I check chat. I akan try answer any of the question yang you guys macam tak faham, okay? Right now I cannot see chat, so we are going to continue to the next slide. Okay, kenapa saya tak boleh duduk dia macam orang lain? Okay, this is my it should be my first macam viewpoint into macam my own symptom tau. Sebab this one has been daripada long ago, daripada zaman I kecil gila, memang I hyper gila. Hyper semacam mengalahkan budak lelaki. And also, my nickname masa I sekolah menengah dulu is Nisa tu dulu. Sebab I suka sangat pergi tandas. Macam mana I tak pergi tandas setiap 20 minit dia bosan, 20 minit je bosan tu. Dan tandas yang I pergi tu bukan tandas belakang kelas tau. Tandas I pergi tu tandas surau tau. Punyalah kena naik tangga, kena pergi sana, kena pergi sini. Baru nak masuk tandas. Punyalah suka berjalan, suka begitu begini. I dulu pernah jalan, okay, this is, but I think I need you to know yang macam I memang tak sempurna, okay? And also if you guys think macam, oh dia lagi better sebab sekian. No, we all ADHD kan, lagi kuat, lagi cemerlang kita as an ADHD person, lagi kuat sebenarnya simptom kita, lagi unmanaged sebenarnya simptom kita, okay? So I want to share you one thing, okay? Macam, dia macam kisah tragik tau. Masa I sekolah dulu, I pernah pergi hospital. And then after checking semua, dia suruh I balik. Tapi masa tu van sekolah I tak ada. So I duduk lah. Tapi let's be honest, I tak duduk. I tak boleh nak duduk pun. I nampak kat sana ada Aeon. So I jalan kaki, I tak tahu berapa puluh kilometer actually. Serious, sumpah. I tak tahu berapa jauh dalam tu. I just tahu macam, wah macam seronok je kat situ. So I pergi. Dan orang mencari I macam gila. Sekolah I mencari I macam gila. Saya cari I macam gila. I tak, time tu, my age kan, at that time of school kan memang tak ada phone tau. Memang time tu rasanya macam dulu memang tak boleh bawa phone pergi sekolah sebenarnya kan. So memang tak siapa nak boleh nak reach I. Tahu-tahu tiba-tiba petang tu baru I datang balik pukul 2 ke hospital tu. You gimana? Semua orang cari you. Nurse tu cakap. And then that should be the first viewpoint, tapi semua orang ignore it and just say I am a really naughty kid. Really unfair. Tapi you know what? Bila I besar kan, I kind of like, you know what? I can use this in my diagnosis. So, kan kalau you guys have really painful experience, kan my experience tu painful tau sebab I also pernah gaduh dengan lelaki, gaduh bertumbuk. Bukan gaduh biasa. Dengan perempuan pun pernah gaduh bertumbuk. So yeah. Kalau you guys ada experience macam teruk sangat dalam hidup yang you rasa macam this is my source of trauma lah, you guys can actually write that down and then bring it to your psychiatrist to ease your process of getting diagnosis. Okay, there was one. Okay, so kita akan tengok as symptom ADHD dewasa ni. Okay, macam biasa, macam tadi juga, I structurize my slide. Is structurized even word, whatever. Okay, so on the go acting as driven by a motor tu actually conclusion untuk the whole symptom. Okay, actually the things that I want to talk about, okay, for this symptom. Often macam, okay, but kita akan tengok satu-satu juga. Okay, number one is dia meninggalkan tempat duduk pada masa yang dia di-expect untuk duduk kat tempat tu. Macam masa meeting, masa kelas, masa appointment, you are expected to sit. Okay, I want to share my experience kan. There is one time tau, macam time tu pun, I tak tahulah pun apa yang I ingat pagi tu. Maybe I excited sangat nak pergi jumpa my psychiatrist. To the point yang I lupa nak makan ubat. Lepas tu I lupa nak makan ubat tu, my symptom menggila lah. Memang I tak duduk langsung. Lepas tu, I rasa kan orang tu ingat I autistic tau. Sebab I memang tak boleh nak control betul my impulse macam berdiri, berjalan, berlompat. So I kata, Nurse, I'm going to be outside. I'm going to have to let my steam off. And then I'm going to go inside back. Nasib baik nurse tu baik tau. Alhamdulillah, nasib baik nurse tu baik. And then dia kata, okay boleh pergilah. Lepas tu dia terus bagi tahu doktor. Macam dia suruh, macam doktor jumpa I immediately sebab macam I am really at brink of macam my capacity to be patient kan. Lepas tu baru, lepas tu I terus jumpa doktor. Right, macam 2-3 minit lepas tu. Memang susah sangat untuk I macam nak remain seated even though masa tunggu appointment. So, acting on the go ni, maksudnya macam dia kejap ke sana, kejap ke sini. I nak bagi tahu you masa yang kerja yang terminated tu, my previous job kan. Ya Allah Tuanku. Dia orang suruh I duduk dalam office kalau tak ada apa-apa. Duduk je dalam office sampai dibagi tahu ada kerja. Ya Allah, sakit gila. Sakit. You will feel the pain in your bones literally. Dah lah overstimulating dengan fluorescent lights, dengan orang bercakap kat belakang je, dengan I tak boleh pakai earphone. I rasa nak nangis tau. Dah nangis dah banyak kali nak nangis tu. And then Alhamdulillah di sekarang job kan. Ambil kau. Tak boleh nak duduk langsung. Semua orang tu duduk. My whole department pergi ke mana entah. I pun tak tahu. Tapi semua tak ada orang. Padahal bukan kau merasa. Tapi itulah I rasa puas. Alhamdulillah. This current job is among things yang I rasa macam Alhamdulillah ya Allah. Terima kasih ya Allah. Because this current job allow me to learn about things that I love, can talk to people, can jalan-jalan, can hulu ke hilir. Kalau and also the light is not that harsh. And also I have accommodation now, job accommodation. People might look at me macam weirdly, tapi it works and I don't care. If you don't ask question, you will not receive answer. So kalau diorang pelik, diorang kenalah tanya, kenapa I buat macam tu? Nanti I bagi tahu lah. And also, work accommodation pun I ada video juga, nanti I share dengan you. I dah up dah videonya sebenarnya, tapi kat TikTok. And since I have TikTok, I totally relate to that. My project phone dengan my work phone is actually a totally different phone. That's why I can have TikTok on another phone. Okay. So, yeah, I will still share it to you, insyaAllah. Please someone remind me about that. Okay, so another thing is learn and answer. Another thing yang macam I still struggle sampai sekarang. Memang tak boleh nak kawal. Ni pun I ada issue juga dengan lecturer masa kat uni dulu. Okay, we're not gonna talk about that. Sebab kalau pasal I je, masa benda tak habis. So, another thing is open fidget or tap with a hand. Macam, kalau I memang I ada fidget spinner I, memang I tak boleh nak duduk senyap kat tempat. Melainkan, ada something I boleh macam, it's not steaming tau, macam boleh play or fidget with, okay? Nanti I terang, one day maybe kita akan go to the point yang macam I terangkan kat you apa beza overstimulation and overstimulation autism dengan ADHD. Tapi for now, this phone I rasa macam dah berjalan habis. Kenapa I macam ni? Sorry you guys, sorry sangat. Okay, I'm trying seriously. Okay, for the punca, okay, dia punca kenapa orang ADHD ni tak boleh duduk diam kenapa dia hyper is sebab dia detect the frontal brain system punya altered behavior. Maksudnya macam okay, macam mana cakap kita punya brain among brain part yang macam dalam research cakap memang it affected people with ADHD is the development of frontal lobe. Okay, frontal lobe ni dia kawal pergerakan, dia kawal impulses, dia kawal kawalan diri. So bila frontal lobe ni dia susah nak dia tak develop fully, tu susah sangat nak control diri sendiri, susah nak control impulses, susah sangat nak control dia punya pergerakan. Okay, so how you guys is hyperactive presentation ataupun combine. Okay, be gentle with yourself kan. Kalau you macam accidentally blurt out answer kan. Nowadays kan kalau I accidentally cut off somebody else's talking kan, I akan cakap macam, I akan tutup mulut I and I cakap, I'm so sorry. I would love to hear it again from you. I'm so sorry for cutting you off. Can you please explain it again to me? Just macam tu je. Kita tak perlu macam terlalu blame diri sendiri. After that, no, we don't have to. Itu memang otak kita cara dia bekerja. Nampak macam banyak kelemahan, actually kan banyak sangat kekuatan. Okay, even behind that. Okay, another thing yang macam things yang dia affect also, benda macam cognitive control, also in frontal lobe. Benda yang macam frontal lobe ni kan, dia macam more impulses tau, more of a macam kawalan diri, more of macam kita boleh hold ourselves back for something. Tak, kita tak boleh. Untuk orang yang ada actually a lot of people with ADHD has a little bit of impulsive and their own presentation, or a little bit of inattentive and their own presentation dan macam tu. So kita memang, otak kita memang tak boleh, it's not really capable of holding back. Okay, that's why people with ADHD ni tend to be intense, tend to be going into one thing fully. Okay, and then one day insyaAllah saya akan cerita kat korang juga pasal ADHD medication ni buat apa, macam mana dia bekerja, apa yang dia buat dalam otak kita, macam mana kita punya behavior boleh after that. okay, boleh berubah after taking ADHD medication ni. Okay, just wait. Sebab dah lagi pun tak habis. Sorry. Oh my god. Okay, so basically that's it. Kita punya otak kita memang susah. It has difficulty. It has trouble with developing in the frontal area part. Macam as fully as other people. So that's why kita susah nak hold ourselves back. Okay, don't blame yourself. So kita akan tengok apa dia punya kesan dia. So, we relax and then we talk a lot. We quickly feeling exhausted and we blurt our answer. And we also fidget and do things macam with our limbs. Okay? Okay, so so sorry. Okay. So after that kita akan tengok kalau tak diagnosis ADHD ni tak boleh ke? Okay. A lot of people kan, especially don't lie to me. Okay, a lot of us yang ADHD late diagnose ni masa dewasa baru nak diagnose ni, korang mesti ada someone yang dah tua yang tak diagnose ADHD. Betul tak? Okay. So saya jujur lah, saya cakap, okay, I've seen people with undiagnosed ADHD and I've seen what ADHD can do in their life when they bila diorang remain ignorant, bila diorang tak nak peduli pun apa yang jadi as a symptom of ADHD. Okay, I cakap, okay, one of it is personal life. Okay, kita tak ada kepuasan diri sendiri. Kita rasa macam kenapa aku asyik tak boleh buat apa benda yang people expected of me, and things yang macam kita rasa aku boleh buat lebih, kenapa aku tak boleh achieve kenapa aku tak boleh commit macam tu. Second thing is relationship. Okay, jujurlah saya cakap, biasa orang with ADHD ni dia akan ada masalah relationship in terms of macam staying put, staying with doing. It's not cheating tau. InsyaAllah orang ADHD ni, saya percaya even among us pun, among kita pun, InsyaAllah sebenarnya kita ada niat untuk macam mendirikan rumah tangga ataupun having a relationship yang sangat yang bahagia dengan kita punya spouses. Kan? So, but dia punya masalah dia bukan datang daripada cheating sebenarnya. Masa saya baca Driven for Distraction by Dr. Nat Hollowell, dia cerita yang sebenarnya relationship with people with ADHD ni bila dia banyak sangat impulsive things yang dia buat dalam hidup dia. Contoh macam 2-3 pagi dah bangun masak, masuk ataupun tukar-tukar kerja sampai kerja yang kerja yang sekarang ni dia ada kerja paling merepek sekali dia pernah dengar. Ataupun dia banyak sangat dia tinggal barang sampai to the point macam dia punya spouses yang penat dah nak backup untuk dia. Dia banyak sangat serakkan barang, lepas tu lupa nak kemas, lepas tu dia terlalu disorganized sampai ke spouses dia marah. Benda macam tu. Okay, also can impact orang ADHD ni. Okay, so another thing is pekerjaan. Okay, saya admit saya ni didiagnose, saya start terima saya punya diagnosis masa saya kerja. Saya start diagnosis daripada zaman saya study lagi. Tahu tak berapa lamanya saya punya zaman saya nak terima diri sendiri. Okay, so saya tak nak saya nak korang semua do better than me. So I am sharing what I know with you guys. Okay, so quality kerja, underperformance, bos marah, lepas tu kita rasa down, and then kita rasa bosan dengan satu kerja tu. To the point kita selalu sangat tukar kerja. And then kita tak boleh nak finish task, kita tak boleh nak complete task. All that thing actually is it is actually impacted from ADHD. Okay, another thing is executive function and performance. Okay, apa masalah, apa benda executive function ni kan? Nanti kita tengok apa kaitan executive function dengan performance. Okay, tapi executive function ni secara totalitinya ialah kebolehan kita untuk mencapai satu matlamat, menghabiskan kebolehan kita untuk membuat satu tugas, mencapai satu matlamat lah tu kan. So basically is that. Okay, kita boleh tengok satu goal tu and I can finish this, I can accomplish this. Itu executive function. And then kita tak boleh nak siapkan kerja sampai habis, projek tergendala ataupun kerja kita tak siap, tak habis. Semua benda pun separuh jalan. And then next thing is self-esteem. Okay, kita tak ada self-esteem. Kita rasa lack of confidence, depression, to the point of depression, and then rasa imposter syndrome even though orang lain, kita even though kita ni wujud dalam kalangan orang yang macam hebat-hebat, kita rasa macam kita tak layak ada kat situ. Sebab kita tahu, kita one of thing yang macam my theory lah about imposter syndrome ni, sometimes kita rasa macam sekarang je aku boleh buat, nanti aku boleh buat lagi ke? Itu masalah orang ADHD when it comes to imposter syndrome. Kita tak tahu kita boleh commit lagi ke tak sebab kita tahu our brain work just one time wonder. Tapi itu saya punya teori lah. Saya tak tahu korang punya macam mana kan. And then in the next thing, okay, last thing is, and actually banyak lagi tapi saya letak sikit je lah kat sini. Overall life satisfaction. Maksudnya macam kita rasa macam kita ni ketinggalan kat belakang dalam hidup. Kita rasa orang lain sebenarnya ke depan sangat. Orang yang dah macam kita dulu, yang lagi low daripada kita. Kita ni lagi bagus daripada dia. Tapi dia dah ke depan sangat. Kita rasa macam, ya Allah ketinggalannya aku. Ya Allah sedihnya aku sebab kita rasa anxious. Lepas ni apa jadi? And then depressed sebab kita tak boleh nak faham diri sendiri. Aku ni kenapa sebenarnya? Apa masalah aku ni? Apa masalah aku ni sampai aku tak boleh nak buat apa yang aku nak? Itu yang kita nak tengok kat dalam slide seterusnya. Kenapa saya tak boleh buat macam orang lain? Okay, so kita, even though ADHD ni, dia boleh daydream sampai sekian, sampai ke bulan, sampai ke marih semua. Tapi, and also kita boleh cakap benda yang macam, people will kind of, wah dia ni memang hebat, otak dia ni memang hebat, memang pandai betul. And even though kita boleh buat macam tu, tapi kita punya follow up, kita kurang kat part follow up. Kenapa kita kurang kat part follow up? Ni saya nak cerita. Okay, sekarang kita nak example, which is executive function. Okay. Bila we're talking about executive function ni kan, macam mana saya nak terang kat korang sebab banyak sangat. Okay, here's the thing, is the fact kan about this thing. Sebenarnya saya dah ada upload satu video ke YouTube saya, episode 1, which is Introduction to Adult with ADHD, tapi saya sorokkan video tu sebab saya rasa malu. So, saya akan terangkan balik kat sini, which is kind of macam repeat balik skrip saya for that video. And then, okay, saya akan terangkan 3 tempat yang macam highly impacted. Okay, benda ni saya check banyak paper dan it say the same thing. It basically say this part. First kita tengok frontal cortex. Okay, frontal cortex ni kat mana? Kita tengok di limbic system. Okay, ni frontal cortex ni around prefrontal cortex, around area prefrontal cortex. Belah depan juga. Memang belah impulsion, executive function, learning, focusing to learn things, itu tempat belah depan kepala kita. Itu juga tempat kita yang memang susah nak develop. Macam orang lain have their frontal cortex fully developed by 25 kan. Itu dia punya kata-kata sekarang. So kita ni 25 pun belum tentu kita punya ni fully developed. So it's okay. Kita ada jenis kita sendiri, diorang ada jenis diorang sendiri. Kita akan gerak pelan-pelan, insyaAllah with compassion and love towards ourselves and our brain. Okay, it's okay. And then next, the frontal cortex ni, dia regulate kita punya behavior, emotions and attention. That's why kita ADHD ni, kalau korang tengok certain website ataupun certain paper, dia akan cakap ADHD ni is a behavioral disorder. Kita ni ada disorder behavior. Faham tak? Kita punya problem kita with behavior. Sebab kita neurodevelopmental disorder, otak kita at certain region tak fully develop. So that's why our behavior tend to be really different compared to other people. Okay, so that's why also kenapa medication mengubah kita punya personality. Basically dia mengubah kita punya behavior. Sebab dia macam fixing our behavior issue. That's one thing. Nanti saya cerita macam mana ADHD med can even do that, okay? Tapi right now, on this one first. I hope you guys don't feel boring listening to me. Please don't feel boring. I have a lot of things to tell you. It's fun, you guys, I swear. InsyaAllah. So next thing is
sorry Colonel, sorry, tadi ada orang cakap better take a break untuk tanya soalan sebab diorang mesti dah lupa soalan diorang nak tanya. So maybe after each topic tu terus boleh tanya soalan kot. Macam tu lah.
Oh my god, you guys can leave it in the chat. Tapi yes, I will take that. Okay, sure. Can. Nanti we go through slide lagi before this. Kita akan tengok balik mana siapa yang ada soalan kat situ, okay? But after this section finish, nanti I buka chances for soalan, okay? Okay. Sorry. Thank you so much, Izzy. You're such great help. Is it easy? Because I recognize your voice. Okay. So next thing is limbic region. Okay. Limbic region ni belah sini. Belah sini. Bahagian central otak kita. Bahagian yang dekat dengan, I don't think it's dekat dengan spine, but it's actually central. Bahagian thalamus, amygdala, hypothalamus, hippocampus, itu memang kita ada problem developing with the development of that part lah. Okay? Macam kita tengok ke bawah tu pun, dia ada masalah. Kalau kita punya limbic system ni, dia ada processing our emotion, they help us processing our motivation, behavior, memories, autonomic nervous system. Benda lah ni semua yang ADHD people problem kan, betul tak? Kita ada RSD, kita ada emotion dysregulation, kita ada behavior issue, kita ada dopamine lacking, kita ada memory retention, and also kita ada problem with impulses. So memang dia impact limbic system, one things kat limbic region kita, okay? And next thing is basal ganglia. Okay, basal ganglia ni yang ini. So basal ganglia ni dia buat apa? Okay, basal ganglia has two main things yang macam kita kena take note, which is one, cortex, which is deciding our body movement, okay, and also basal ganglia, and which is execute smooth movement. Okay, apa kaitan cerebral cortex dengan basal ganglia ni? Okay, so first, cerebral cortex ni, that's among reason kita ada masalah development kat cerebral cortex ni yang menyebabkan kenapa kita punya movement ni kita tak dikawal. That's why kita ada impulses. That's why kita cannot control our own brain untuk nak fokus ke mana. That's why kita tak boleh nak control our own talking, our own mouth daripada interrupting our other people. That's why kita tak ada control diri kita sendiri, badan, tangan kita sendiri daripada potong jalan orang lain. I know it looks very rude. Macam kita rasa macam patutlah semua orang marah aku. Tapi even though everyone are mad at you for your behavior, you shouldn't be too harsh on yourself. Be compassionate, okay? Always be compassionate. Always say to yourself, it's okay, I don't understand now, but I can always learn about it later, okay? So, and also basal ganglia, execute smooth movement. Okay, perasan tak orang ADHD ni mesti cemerkap sikit. Even though saya ni banyak buat benda yang melibatkan pergerakan, saya pun still sometimes kan sampai bos kata, tengok kepala tu, Nisa tangan, Nisa sikit lagi nak jatuh tu. Sometimes member pun cakap, Nisa nak jatuh tu, macam tu. Maksudnya memang saya punya movement memang tak smooth. Memang susah sikit untuk saya macam jadi orang yang efficient dan elegant. Memang tak ada lah. Sebab saya punya basal ganglia has a little bit of problems. Okay? Okay, so kita akan tengok part prefrontal cortex. Sebab memang prefrontal cortex kita ni memang tak develop as fully and as advanced as other people. Okay, so apa je yang menyebabkan kat prefrontal cortex ni yang menyebabkan kita ni tak boleh perform dalam hidup? Okay, memang things yang macam impacting us dalam macam saya cakap Okay, saya start dengan macam ni lah. Orang lain masa kecil dulu, daripada zaman kecil dulu dia dah learn to macam sempurnakan untuk develop dia punya prefrontal cortex. That's why bila dia dah besar, prefrontal cortex dia memang 25-26 macam tu, insyaAllah dah fully develop, dah perfect, dah macam good to go, good to live as a functioning and high performing human being. Tapi kita ADHD ni, even though kita punya most of us, jangan tipu, most of us is actually high achiever. Tak kisahlah dalam sukan ke, dalam seni ke, dalam pelajaran ke, dalam sekian-sekian sekalipun, kita memang high achiever in one thing or another daripada sekolah. So that part of our brain actually develop first. That's why kita ada delay in executive function. At least that is my theory lah. Sebab kita dah develop one thing first, then bila kita besar, that the front part of our brain is actually not fully developed sebab kita develop something else first. I think ada macam almost same macam autism, but in a way that macam kita punya brain more like kita our brain ni dia lacking on that part, membuatkan kita rasa macam superhero, superhuman. No, I think kan. Sorry sangat. I think it's more of a kita punya brain, kita punya otak ni dia kurang develop on that part. But sebab kita budak lagi time tu, orang pandang kita macam wah budak ni pandai. Sebab underdeveloped in that part is causing us to be able to achieve cool things and really hard things. Macam contoh kan, bila kita tak boleh nak kawal kita punya behaviour, kita tend to macam change from one thing to another thing. So people will start thinking, saya cari contoh lain. Okay, contoh macam motivation. Okay, kita rasa macam senang sangat untuk kita belajar that one thing, and then kita senang sangat untuk jump from one thing to another thing. And people will think us as multi-talented. Padahal sebenarnya tak pun. Kita just susah nak retain attention and interest in just one thing. Itu je. Tapi kita budak time tu, orang rasa kita macam hebat. Itu sebab kita ramai, a lot of us sebenarnya high achiever masa kecil, tapi bila besar, benda simple macam isi Excel pun susah. Yes, saya pun susah nak isi Excel. So yeah, I understand that. Okay, so let's see. If you have question for this slide, saya pergi kat comment, except I do not know where the comment is. I do not know where to read the comment. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay, saya akan jawab question. Oh, okay. So Taklim says he's attentive. Thank you so much, Taklim. Okay, hyperfocus. Okay, good question. My personal items. Okay, so hyperfocus ni, this because we have an inability to control our impulses. Macam saya cakap tadi, kita ada macam kita punya frontal cortex kita tak berapa nak develop. Okay, frontal cortex kita tak berapa nak develop bahagian depan tu. So kita susah sangat control kita punya impulses on certain things. Hyperfocus ni jadi sebab bila kita dah focus on something, otak kita dah decide focus on something, dia tak boleh nak hold back dia punya focus tu. Macam orang lain dia boleh macam fokus and then orang panggil nama dia boleh pandang belakang kan. Kalau hyperfocus memang dia tak akan pandang belakang. Sebab otak kita dia dah decide tu memang aku nak fokus situ. Dia susah nak hold back dia punya fokus. That's one thing. Okay? Okay, kalau jadi suka tidur kelas, betul. Saya pun suka tidur kelas. Among my other nickname is actually Naum. So dulu sekolah saya belajar Arab. So dia orang ngaji saya dalam bahasa Arab. So Naum ni maksud tidur. Okay, dulu saya ada email nama Nisa Naum lagi. So dia selalu sangat agent saya Naum. So to the point saya jadikan benda lah tu my own joke, my own inside joke. Okay. So betul, saya pun suka tidur kelas. Saya pun detektif. Among things saya macam tidur dalam kelas ni, saya cakap sebab dia tak boleh nak bergerak mana-mana, dia tak boleh nak daydream. So the best thing macam bila kita dah rasa macam comfortable-nya, badan kita pun dah rasa comfortable sebab kita tak boleh nak buat apa kan. I also was macam kind of wondering until now tau. Kenapa orang ADHD suka tidur In a really bukan stressful tau, macam really sitting still environment. Saya pun tak boleh nak discuss pasal benda tu sekarang. InsyaAllah nanti one day saya akan try to get back to you, my personal item. So kalau jenis suka tidur kelas, okay. Next, I think it's about bosan. Tapi I also doesn't understand kenapa saya pun suka tidur dalam kelas. Tapi kan ada satu kelas yang saya tak tidur tau. And that class is really a class yang macam otak saya decide log in lah. Tak tahu kenapa dia log in time tu. Padahal sejarah tu. Time kelas sejarah dia nak tidur. Orang lain dah berdengkur dah. Dia kenali pencarian rakan sebagai Nobita. Kenapa Nobita? Kenapa Taklim dikenali sebagai Nobita? Saya teringin nak tahu. Oh, batch Asasi Pintar. UKM. Oh, you're from UKM? Wow. Okay, that's really impressive. Kalau kat sekolah tidur tidur number one, betul. Dulu saya masa sekali sekolah dulu, saya sekolah berasrama kan. Dia orang kata, Nisa kalau Nisa tidur kan, kalau ada kebakaran waktu malam, kau biar je Nisa datang. Sebab saya tak bangun-bangun. Orang ketuk pun apa benda pun sekalipun saya tak bangun-bangun. Alarm tu kat tepi telinga saya pun saya tak dengar. Alarm fire alarm tu saya tak dengar. Sebab saya memang dah tidur, memang dah tidur mati betul. Memang saya pun tak tahu apa masalah orang yang ADHD ni dengan tidur. Okay, so nanti saya nanti kita akan bincang pasal benda ni kerja sekolah. Memang tak buat. Betul, saya pun tak buat kerja sekolah. Tapi orang tak kisah tau. Sebab let's be honest, high achiever kan. That's why also diorang miss my diagnosis tau. Benda saya ni problematic sebenarnya. Honestly, punca utama for ADHD adult. Betul, parent tak peka. Betul. Parent tak peka, teacher tak peka, semua orang tak peka. Sebab tu kita boleh terlepas. Kalau tak sebenarnya memang terang-terang kita ni ada ADHD. Lepas tu, tak suka homework. Entahlah, my brain doesn't decide to work on homework. And then, I'm curious kalau ada simptom ni tapi masking. Literally with fidgeting tapi terpaksa. You know what? Actually, bila kita fidgeting tapi kita tahan, kan, itu yang jadi daydreaming. Itu yang jadi otak kita pula yang bekerja. Sebab tangan kita, kaki kita tak boleh bekerja. That's why, pernah dengar tak depression, shimmy away, keep the depression away. Sebab bila kita dah keluarkan kita punya pemikiran, benda yang kita fikir dalam otak tu, kita dah keluarkan through action, through movement, kita dah tak fikir sangat dah. Otak kita dah rasa free. That's why exercise is really helping for ADHD people, especially for inattentive presentation, okay? Tapi saya pun sebenarnya exercise juga sebab saya hyper kan. Saya kena habiskan tenaga saya before malam, kalau tak. Okay, so I hope I answer your question, my personal items, and then macam I dah biasa masking until my friend ADHD. Betul. ADHD dia sangat suka macam people who dia sangat suka ikut orang sebenarnya. Bila kita dapat someone unmasking kan, dan kita pun rasa macam selesa nak unmasking. Seronok sangat sebenarnya bila kita unmask ni, and then kita rasa, actually kan at this point kan sebenarnya I dah unmask tau. Even kat tempat kerja pun sebenarnya I dah unmask. Orang tengok accommodation I pun, orang tengok macam kenapalah Minah ni pakai shade dalam bilik office. Alhamdulillah, korang tak tanya. Tak ada siapa kisah. Actually kan, nobody cares. Bila I buat pun, nobody cares. Actually bila I gerak-gerak sana sini pun, nobody cares. Trust me, nobody cares actually. Just unmask. And then kalau diorang tak terima you, that's their own damn fault. And also, they are missing out on you. Honestly, to me lah, they are missing out on ADHD people, and that's a big thing. And then another thing is, saya okay duduk kalau lagu. Nanti ADHD people. Okay. There's actually a lot of things I want to talk to you guys. Tapi itulah, we are focusing on this topic for now. And then, I think ADHD also seluruh benda. Okay, I want to talk about this. I know this kind of topic, tapi betul, ADHD people have this one tendency to macam follow things words by words, literally, macam lurus bendul. But actually, it's not bad thing at all. Okay, sebab saya pun kan, okay, saya cerita macam pasal macam saya cakap tadi, this morning kan apa jadi kan. And then kan, after I got this training session macam with my company tu kan, I go back and practice, actually talk to my boss change ni. Kalau bos nak buat change ni, then I will do the change ni. Lepas tu dia terangkan lah, actually I sebenarnya nak you macam change ni. So kalau you boleh macam ni change ni, you boleh cari jalan macam mana change nak buat capai this thing and that thing, then we are good. And then I follow exactly apa yang dia nak. Trust me, kita nampak tu satu benda yang negatif. Sebab orang selalu fikir macam luru bendul ni confirm apa tu, kau bagi je tahu dia apa yang dia nak buat. Confirm ikut punya 100%. Trust me when I say, kita punya instinct ni sebenarnya much more powerful than what we think. Sometimes apa yang kita lurus bendul tu in a thing yang kita tak berapa nak kuat. It's not really our strongest asset. It's not really our strongest traits. Okay, that's why kita lurus bendul. But for things yang memang kita punya superpower, for things yang memang kita punya talents, for things yang macam kita punya memang itu Allah dah bagi kita, trust me when I say, our instinct is much more sharper than other people. Okay, untuk remember, our character, our traits is always gonna be double-edged sword. Okay, when one part cut, our another part protect us. Okay, nampak macam kita dulu benduk kat satu benda, actually when it comes to our kind of things, yeah, that's it. That's what we know. Like, kita ni has our own worth, has our own specialty. Okay, so don't be ya saya
Tanya, kan tadi Nisa cakap lurus benda tu bagus kan? And yeah, I mean I get your point. Tapi somehow lepas tu dia cakap pasal instinct, right? Tapi kenapa I rasa macam lurus benda tu in all aspect in my life, termasuklah dengan orang, faham tak? Maksudnya macam I expected everyone is nice. Maksudnya I tak akan cakap orang tu jahat selagi depan mata I dia tak buat benda tu jahat, faham tak? Selagi tak kena kat mata I macam okay, itu baik, dia baik. Sampailah walaupun orang lain cakap Zizi, orang ni tak baik lah dekat you sebab dia buat sini. I macam tak faham benda tu. Sampailah benda tu jadi betul-betul macam barulah okay, orang ni jahat. Faham tak? Like, do you guys feel the same thing ataupun macam mana? I don't know.
Saya faham Zizi sebab saya dulu, macam lah saya dulu orang pernah cakap kau kenapa kau kawan dengan dia, kau tahu tak dia jahat kan? Dia mengumpat kau, dia kata tak apalah, takkanlah dia nak mengumpat aku kan, sebab orang takkan bercakap mengumpat kutub depan-depan kan. Sampailah when the time comes and kita literally nampak yang dia memang tak suka kita, then baru kita cakap kenapa aku tak percaya apa orang cakap tu. So saya faham lah konteks dia cakap tu memang betul.
Betul? Okay. Here's a thing about our brain kan. A lot of ADHD people is actually visual learner. Okay? I do not know which part of our brain yang di-impact to the point yang kita rasa macam unless that thing is happening in front of us, we cannot believe it. Tapi once we believe it hard. Okay? Lurus bendul actually is not really a bad trait. Society make it as a bad trait sebab dia rasa cunningness is a new good trait. Okay? Being cunning is another way of being charismatic. I can assure you. Cunning ni macam slide ni apa? Okay, good question. Macam saya nak terangkan dalam Melayu. Cunning ni sebab budaya kita tak ada buat perkataan cunning ni. So saya pun tak tahu macam mana nak cakap dia punya.
Cunning tu macam licik lah. Dia macam
betul.
Macam pandai je, bukan pandai ambil hati. Maksudnya dia pandai buatkan orang tu suka kat dia tapi sebenarnya dia jahat. Faham tak maksud dia? Lebih kurang situ lah.
So kita ni licik lah. Macam tu. So kita licik.
No, macam cunning ni is opposite of lurus bendul. Faham tak? Macam dia nampak karismatik. Tapi actually dia bukannya have a good intention. Faham tak? Susah nak cakap. Sebab saya pun tak tahu macam mana nak sebut dia dalam
tapi in what way betul lah juga licik lah kan. Sebab nampak
ya betul.
tapi jahat kan.
Ya, dia the nearest translation kita ada dalam bahasa Melayu is licik. So bila untuk orang yang ada ADHD ni, actually kita macam cakap sebab kita punya neurodevelopmental condition kan, kita memang ada kesukaran untuk kita macam faham how this world works in a sense. Okay? Macam saya pun. Saya asyik kena gelak je dengan production, dengan engineer lain, dengan sekian, dengan orang-orang yang lagi bawah, especially lagi bawah daripada saya, lagi kuatlah dia gelak. Okay? Sebab the way that I carry myself is in a way that macam a person who actually really trying hard to learn something carry herself. Macam really macam bawa dokumen ke sana kemari, bawa paper ke sana kemari, mata-mata nak belajar benda lah. Orang lain boleh tengok lepas tu dah faham dah. I could. And I understand that dating macam not working hard is cool, but you know it's what much cooler, okay? I know that lurus bendul doesn't look cool, okay? But the coolest part is actually when you already accepted yang macam, hey, I am not cool. I am lurus. Macam saya pun lurus. Saya lurus gila to the point macam sometimes boss, saya pernah kena marah dengan boss sebab I took things too literal. And dia tak boleh macam fikirlah sikit macam tu. No, I cannot. If you say A, I will do A. Okay, this is not even something yang macam saya rasa it's not a problem to other people. Only, it's also to us. Okay, sebab kita punya lurus ni sampai kita rasa kita memudaratkan diri kita sendiri. Macam kita rasa betrayed, kita rasa kita ada trust issue. Yes, saya admit, saya pun ada trust issue daripada zaman yang kaum baik saya sendiri betray saya and all that stuff. But one thing kan yang pasal orang ADHD ni, bila dia ada lurus bendul dia kan, there is just area in life yang macam kita tak fully develop yet. Maybe orang lain dia dah rasa dulu. That's why dia orang can develop it faster. Masa saya cakap, orang lain dah develop executive function lagi awal daripada kita. Kita just ketinggalan sebab kita punya undiagnosed ADHD tu allow us to accomplish a lot of good things to the point yang macam kita rasa this is enough, and then suddenly bila kita besar baru kita perasan executive function kita tak fully develop. So bila the same thing with emotional, the same thing with macam social management, social appropriateness, all those things kan. Bagi saya lah, lurus bendul ni is just another way of saying macam that person is really naive and really innocent. Okay? One thing about, and like baby is naive and innocent also, right? Like a baby, we also can learn. Slowly kita akan belajar, oh orang ni sebenarnya macam ni rupanya. Patutnya aku tak boleh percaya dia ni sebenarnya. Macam tu. And yes, macam nampak counterintuitive. Tapi actually kan, orang lain dah belajar dulu. That's why diorang boleh tahu awal. Tapi kita just belajar lambat sebab kita have another things dalam hidup kita. Kenapa kena berkias? Okay. That's a good thing. Kenapa kena berkias? Itu memang, saya pernah tanya kat psychiatry. Kenapa nak berkias? Kenapa nak kena cakap berapik? Kenapa nak kena filter? I don't need those filter. I will do fine if you just talk to my face. And then he laughed and said, that is how our society is. Itu memang cara society kita bekerja. Kita akan berlapik, berkias, berfilter semata-mata nak senangkan hati the other person. Even though benda lah tu sebenarnya menyusahkan kita. Tapi kalau kita dah tahu ada our friends ada ADHD, kita pun ada ADHD, cakap je lah terus terang. I think ADHD people is among people who with bila kita dah overcome that fear of rejection tu kan, kita ni lagi resilient daripada orang biasa. Ya saya?
Sorry mencelah. Cuma sometimes people tak faham tau, berterus terang ni bukan permission untuk you jadi kurang ajar. Faham tak? Maksudnya diorang rasa macam dengan berterus terang tu macam you can say anything, literally anything. Tak. Dia macam you boleh sampaikan benda tu dengan cara yang baik. Bukannya permission untuk you jadi biadab. Faham tak maksud I? Kan?
Okay,
sebab
betul? Kalau I kat tempat you kan, I akan cakap macam ni tau. I can literally macam ajar dia. Macam, hey, that's really not nice kan untuk cakap macam tu. Bila kita cakap, bila orang cakap biadab dengan kita dan kita cakap sopan dengan dia, automatically dia akan rasa malu. Sama macam the way yang macam people buat joke yang inappropriate and then kita ask them to explain that joke. Kita sebenarnya menyebabkan otak dia orang macam jam. Kenapa dia punya reaction tak macam apa yang aku expect macam tu. So, bila orang buat macam tu, orang cross our boundary, okay? This is, everyone has their own boundary. Dan bila people cross your boundary, you kena cakap dengan dia, hey, you are crossing my boundaries, okay? And I don't like that. I don't respect that, okay? Here's how I expect us to communicate. Kita boleh teach them about our body, and it needs a lot of emotional works for that to get to that level. Ya, betul. ADHD is indeed impairment. Okay. Saya nak jawab soalan Taklim. Executive function tu apa? Executive function tu is ability to finish, to actually macam mencapai matlamat. Okay, contoh macam kita, matlamat tak perlu yang macam grandiose pun. Tak perlu yang macam besar-besar pun, macam impian ke, tak payah. Matlamat contohnya kita nak basuh baju. Boleh ke kita basuh baju tu dalam masa yang sesingkat mungkin? Buat basuh baju tu sampai habis. Bukannya macam bertangguh-bertangguh. Lepas masukkan dalam masuk bertangguh pula nak masukkan dalam dryer. Lepas nak masukkan dalam dryer, bertangguh pula nak lipat. Macam tu. Kita tak bertangguh. And also, macam contoh, nak kemas bilik. Okay, nak kemas bilik. Boleh ke kita siapkan satu bilik tu full, complete, sampai habis? That's one executive function. Ni really highly valued. Memang sangat penting lah kiranya bila kita nak buat something tu. Nak habiskan, nak buat satu kerja tu. That is when executive function ni sangat
sorry Corona for ni mencelah sebab saya tertanya kan. Saya pernah terbaca lah antara salah satu kita panggil spektrum ADHD, yang di mana seseorang tu kadang-kadang dia buat satu kerja tu, contohnya dia dah penat, tapi yalah mungkin bahagian daripada hyperactive juga kan. Bila mana kita buat kerja tu, kita dah penat tapi kita keep on buat benda tu sampai benda one moment kita jadi exhausted dan kita jadi apa istilah dia tu, burn out kan. So
okay, no,
macam mana kaitan dengan executive function?
Okay, sure.
Macam executive function tu kita sampai habis ni orang tapi ya, sebab saya rasa macam my dad macam tu lah. Saya rasa dia macam I don't know lah for myself.
No.
Tak tahu lah.
Let me rephrase, okay? Rephrase your question, okay? Okay, so what you mean, kita dah get into this one kerja. Contoh macam kita basuh pinggan. Tengah basuh pinggan, mula je ni memang basuh semua pinggan semua bersih. And then suddenly, when it comes to, kita tahu lepas basuh pinggan ni kena lap pula. And then suddenly, masa nak dekat habis tu, nak pinggan tu nak dekat habis, suddenly kita rasa macam pancit. Suddenly kita rasa macam semput. Rasa macam, weh aku dah tak boleh buat. Memang sumpah tak boleh buat. Rasa tinggal je. Betul tak? And then kita, certain people with ADHD, especially the unmanaged one, memang terus tinggal. Biarlah lantak lah, benda tu sikit je. That's memang reason kenapa orang panggil ADHD ni buat kerja tak habis. Sebab kita pancit tengah-tengah jalan, bukannya kita saja nak tinggalkan. Betul ke? Daripada apa yang saya terangkan ni, saya tak tahu siapa yang cakap.
Soalan saya adalah sepatutnya kalau executive function kita tak buat kerja tu sampai habis, tapi saya pernah terbaca ada salah satu spektrum ADHD yang orang tu dia asyik buat kerja. Dia macam workaholic punya people lah, tapi dia ADHD.
Okay. This one is a rare one, okay? This one is among the reason kenapa I ask you to macam seek for a mental health professional, sebab there is kind of person yang memang dia stimulus seeking. Stimulus seeking ni meaning dia seek for stimuli always. Dia punya dia keep seeking for something yang macam can bring external stimuli. Maksudnya macam even though benda tu kerja, benda tu macam mana dia terangkan stimuli macam ni? Okay, basically did you know yang macam dopamine ni dalam otak kita ni sebenarnya highly addictive? That's why some people addicted to cocaine. Some people addicted to cracks, if you know what a crack is. Sebab dopamine is actually really, really addictive. Okay, one thing. Okay, that was my first point. Second thing, bila dopamine ni addictive sebab dia punya rewarding. Dia ni function dopamine ni untuk reward, untuk bagi tahu otak kita yang wow, I did a great job. And people with dia memang lacking in dopamine tau. Sebab macam mana nak cakap okay, I know I cannot, you cannot see me, but I'm gonna macam terangkan benda lain with explanation you guys are doing it, are imagining it, okay? Imagine you guys, okay, can you guys put up your two of your fists together? Macam ni. I cannot show you, so I cannot over camera. But you guys put two fists together. Okay, I'm gonna explain to you macam mana dopamine works, okay? How neurotransmitter work, okay? Dopamine will gonna come out of one fist, okay? And then it will gonna be absorbed with another fist. Okay, this fist actually resemble our nervous system kot. That's like I. Ke spine, something around macam dia punya neurotransmitter lah, dia punya neurotransmitter punya absorption tu. I forget what his name is. I'm not good with name, tapi dia punya inhibitors. Satu phase is rembeskan dopamine, satu lagi absorb. Orang with non-ADHD kan, dia punya dopamine tu boleh stay for a longer time after accomplishing a task. Orang ADHD will have a really short time. Macam contoh, orang lepas rumah, a normal person can feel good for 2 to 3 hours before they get to another job, to get to another task. Kita cuma boleh rasa 10 minit je rasa seronok dia tu. Lepas tu rasa seronok tu hilang, and then kita kena cari lagi benda lain untuk kita rasa puas dengan diri kita. Faham tak? Betul Riz. Macam nak lagi, betul. Kita nak lagi. That's why some people with dopamine deficiency, okay, dia akan buat lagi to the point people think they are workaholic. Padahal sebenarnya dia seeking the dopamine in their brain. They are trying to create more dopamine in their brain so they can feed themselves, so they can feel satisfied from it again and again. There's some other reason kenapa some ADHD people can be really too focused on one thing in their life, and other thing in their life totally went down the drain. Macam tu. Yes, betul. Sebab kita akan feed kita punya one of the things yang macam dopamine ni, function dia ialah untuk bagi tahu yang okay, I'm satisfied. I am this is good. This feels good. One of it is actually pleasure. Macam benda yang buat kita rasa macam please, buat kita rasa macam mana nak translate pleasure dalam bahasa Melayu. Siapa boleh tolong? Saya pun tak tahu macam nak cakap. Pleasure and satisfaction, reward, something.
Kepuasan lah. Rasa
kepuasan, betul. Rasa kepuasan. That's why kita boleh addicted to something. That's why kita bukan setakat boleh substances. Ya, saya?
Oh, sorry. Maksudnya kalau kita fall in love pun maksudnya macam tu ke? Maksudnya kalau kita tengah suka someone, that's why kita macam obsessed gila ke orang tu sampai everything pun tak boleh buat. Betul. Sebab kita rasa, okay, that is also another thing, but it's more of a adrenaline. Itu bukan serotonin dah. Itu bukan dopamine dah. Itu adrenaline. Kita rasa macam, oh my god. There is a part of falling in love, oxytocin. Okay, I cannot deny that. Oxytocin also another thing yang macam is created from love, tapi also adrenaline. Sometimes ADHD people, bila dia fall in love, bukannya dia fall in love biasa tau. Dia akan fall in love and then do risky things macam confession, macam doing risky macam proposal, benda macam tu. Dia come with a lot of things yang macam bahaya kat diri sendiri, bahaya kat kita punya image, benda macam tu. It's adrenaline among things, okay? You guys get crushes. Shikin! No! Betul, kita akan hyperfixate kita punya, kalau love tu oxytocin. Ya, betul. Love tu pun oxytocin juga, tapi bukan dopamine, tapi adrenaline. Kita pun ada
adrenaline, kita pun is also powered by adrenaline also. Kita punya adrenaline level, okay, untuk kita capai the height yang the level of adrenaline yang boleh puaskan kita tu sangat susah. Kita ada heightened sense of adrenaline. So kita kena try lagi to the point yang macam gila-gila punya action to the point untuk kita dapatkan adrenaline tu. Oxytocin, yes, communication, emotional, things yang macam bonding, connection kind of things, it release oxytocin.
Oh, patutlah saya pernah terbaca apa yang minda inklusif tu kan. Dia beritahu, dia kata dia hampir lemas sebab buat apa ni, sukan lasak dekat sungai, hampir-hampir nak mati lemas dia kak. Sebab that's reason lah adrenaline kita punya adrenaline tu kita high tense punya.
Ya, betul. Kita akan seek for things yang macam really extreme sebab kita nak puaskan, kita nak naikkan kita punya adrenaline to the point yang kita boleh rasa dalam diri kita. Kita punya level of adrenaline memang dah tinggi dah. Kita nak so bila kita nak buat something tu yang kita rasa macam okay, I can feel the adrenaline in myself, it usually will be a really reckless things to do. There's one things yang macam kenapa ADHD ni ada impulsivity and hyperactivity. Sebab kita nak that adrenaline. Okay, yeah. Hyperfixation also can happen to people. Hyperfixation can also happen to hobbies, to subjects, to work. People with ADHD can literally hyperfixate on everything. That's why I said sometimes to always get your diagnosis from a mental health professional sebab sometimes ADHD hyperfixate ni can also overlap with BPD special person, okay? Okay, kita ada capability yang tinggi untuk addiction. Betul, kita ada tendency untuk be more addicted to something compared to other people, okay? But we don't have to be addicted to something. We can always do dopamine. We can always do dopamine reset, okay? Dopamine menu. There are a lot of things yang macam, inshallah one day I will teach you guys. Also maybe I will make a video on it, on how to macam keep dopamine saya. Oh, you ke? Oh no, I'm so sorry. Reset dia ada BPD. Okay, I'm so sorry. What is it? Is it Zizi? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Tak, nak tanya, like kita kan tend to hyperfixate kan? So actually the exercise kan really good for us. Dia macam bagi apa tu semula hormon yang bagus kan.
Betul.
Tapi why we cannot fixate on exercising? Kenapa exercise tu kejap je, lepas tu tak boleh buat dah. Lepas tu like, maybe macam sebulan 2, lepas tu after something yang deviate your plan kan, something yang halang you buat benda-benda tu, tiba you tak boleh buat dah routine tu, faham tak? You dah tak akan sentuh dah routine tu for another tak tahu dah bila. Macam tu, I don't know.
Faham.
Okay.
Kalau saya betul lah. Saya rasa saya pernah dengar pasal ni sebab diorang kata kita yang ADHD, kita nak dopamin yang segera, dan exercise ni part of dopamine tapi lambat nak dapat sebab contohnya nak kena tukar baju dulu, baju suka, lepas tu nak kena pakai stokey, nak kena pakai ni, nak kena cari masa. So kita tak suka benda tu tau, macam benda tu complicated bagi kita. That's why kita tak buat kan. Betul
okay.
Ke macam mana?
Yes, that's one point. That's a really excellent point. Excellent question also, Zizi. Excellent point also, Taklim. That's one thing, okay. Another thing is about kita punya another thing other than macam heightened barrier of entry, and also kita nak dopamine yang express, okay. Another thing is also macam exercise ni dia macam, okay. Here's the thing about dopamine and serotonin, okay? Serotonin ni, you know serotonin is like happiness mood kan? And dopamine is pleasure mood. Okay, kalau kita have low dopamine already, kan? Kita memang dah tak feel motivated dah. Kita memang dah tak rasa semangat dah. And then our serotonin naik, meaning our happiness naik. Kita dah rasa seronok atas katil. Kita dah rasa selesa, kita dah rasa macam happy gila. Buang masa, waktu-waktu petang macam tu dengan aktiviti yang lagi seronok daripada bersukan. Kenapa kita nak otak kita nak pilih sukan padahal kita tahu sukan tu sakit. That's another thing. Bila dopamine kita turun, serotonin kita naik. And that's why my reason kenapa actually for me lah, personally, saya tak akan always stimulate myself. Kalau I boring, biarlah I boring. Then we regulate. Kalau I boring, I will regulate. Okay, one of the way that I regulate is actually by zikir lah. Sebab memang betul, zikir ni ada banyak manfaat dia. And dia ada macam, bukan preachy I'm not being preachy. This is only just my way to regulate my emotion masa I tak ada stimulation. Okay, so that bila I tak ada stimulation, my serotonin can be at a good level. Kalau you guys ada depression, kalau you guys, okay, I know how depression feels. Masa awal-awal dulu pun my psychiatrist nak diagnose me with depression, okay? So I know how does it feels. So you guys think macam semua benda tak jadi, semua benda pun tak seronok, semua benda pun bosan. Semua exercise pun bosan, semua exercise pun susah. You guys rasa macam tu kan, macam kenapa aku rasa semua benda pun bosan lah? You guys try to macam sit down and do nothing for a bit so that your serotonin can lower down and your dopamine can get a chance to get back up, strike back up, you know, so that you can actually get that senses of wanting to do something new. You guys boleh reset you punya dopamine with that. So that dia punya serotonin tu boleh slow jap. And then you guys can go back to the usual routine. Yang sekarang ni dalam otak you sebenarnya it's not usual, it's a new routine. For that lah, for things like that. Okay, good night Riz. Ya betul, serotonin is hormone happiness sebenarnya. Ya, kita rasa macam we can feel really good. That's why among things kenapa bila orang yang ada bipolar, bila dia depressed, dia sampai tak boleh mandi semua. Serotonin is almost less. That's why yeah, betul. Sangat Shikin dia sangat betul sebab bila kita exercise actually we are releasing serotonin in our body literally. We literally creating serotonin for our brain. Okay, let me tell you two ways to create serotonin. Satu daripada badan, satu daripada otak. Yang daripada otak macam kita tahulah kan, kita berfikiran positif, bercakap benda yang baik, that is serotonin dalam otak. Untuk body, kita ada dua. Satu pergerakan, satu perut. Okay, kita boleh makan benda yang elok, benda yang menghasilkan microbiome yang biodiverse. Itu akan menghasilkan serotonin juga. Kalau korang depressed, try makan benda-benda yang macam buah-buahan, sayur-sayuran yang macam sedap, insyaAllah. And then try variety kan korang punya diet. And then, insyaAllah maybe korang punya symptom tu akan lifted up sikit. And also exercise also literally creating serotonin. Tapi I rasa there's resistance to it because it's stigma or PDA. I think it's more of a PDA. Stigma tu maybe orang yang kata stigma macam probably I know some people say macam tak cukup ibadah, tak cukup, yes. There's also can trigger PDA actually. There's also can trigger task avoidance. Yep. But also, it's not because ibadah. Kalau kita macam, kalau kita nyahkan, kalau kita tolak dia orang punya opinion tu ke tepi, I think we can actually accept the fact that zikir is also a good way to regulate. Yeah, I get it. My personal items. Okay, is there anything else? Because actually kan, yang my slide tadi tu, is like almost the final slide actually. Like we have one more slide and then actually it's thank you slide. Okay, so hold up. Okay, so yeah, literally. And then how does executive function affect ADHD performance? Macam tadi I cakap, working memory, flexible thinking ke macam okay, memory ni dia memory yang kita guna masa kita tengah bekerja. Ability untuk kita simpan benda yang kita tengah buat tu dalam otak kita. And then planning and prioritizing. Maksudnya kita plan satu benda tu and then kita kita prioritize macam benda tu urgent. And then task initiation, even nak initiate task pun, nak mulakan task pun perlukan executive function. And also impulse control, emotional control and organisation. So you guys get it lah kenapa kita ada masalah-masalah macam ni, okay? Okay, so last slide. Okay, other things yang related to ADHD, insyaAllah kita akan bincang untuk the next punya slide, punya session. Comorbidity, daydreaming, self-esteem issue, time blindness, self-esteem focus, executive function, emotional dysregulation, RST, things like that. Okay, so this is my sumber. Okay, this is, I guess you can see it's really from papers that I actually read about it. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you guys. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, yes, my personal items. Okay. Sorry.
Apa dia, saya nak tanya macam like, okay, kita sebab this is our condition, so of course we read a lot about it, kita dengar semua kan, so kita macam try untuk faham, right? Tapi macam mana kita nak explain benda ni secara ringkas dan mudah kepada orang awam, especially our family members lah, especially our parents, to be more specific. Sebab okay, in my current situation, dia macam I pun tengah faham diri sendiri, I pun tak tahu nak explain benda I nak explain tu. Lepas tu bila I explain, diorang cakap macam, dah lah, I pun tak faham tak? Macam tu. Lepas tu diorang akan cakap, I also don't know how to help you. Sometimes I literally spell it out and like, do not talk to me like this, do not say things like this to me because it blah 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 blah. But end up diorang still buat the same pattern, faham tak?
Faham?
Macam tu lah, I mean like we cannot ubah orang, but at the same time, if you say macam you tak faham, so why you tak cuba faham? You pergilah baca, faham tak? Pergilah baca.
Yes, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I don't know. So sorry, rambling.
No. Don't apologize. I say okay because I totally get what you mean. I totally get it. For ADHD people, kan, kita rasa our love language is actually learning about that person. Literally. Like,
Yes.
kan, betul tak? Bila kita suka somebody tu ataupun kita sayang somebody tu, even though dia punya whatever that he has, whatever kind of weirdness that person has, or even our own mom has, we are literally doing research upon research just to understand them, just to validate them, just to say, yes, this is why. Now I can understand you. That is ADHD people kind of loving. Okay? When sorry just now kan, masa I tengok ramai gila participant and I feel so honoured. Okay, so go back to the question kan. Masa I dengan neurotypical pun, masa I dengan member I yang neurotypical pun, she was wondering kenapa I tak pernah cerita pasal I said, I literally macam tunggu her to talk to me about my diagnosis. Sebab I literally tell her about my diagnosis and I ask her, I give her hints. I ask her about her sister diagnosis, but her sister pun ada problem juga, dia macam ada bipolar something, so I asked about her sister, but she doesn't get that hint. And then suddenly she asked me, kenapa tak pernah cerita dengan aku? You literally never ask. Okay, so for ADHD people, knowing about someone and then researching about them is our love language. For them, this is where it gets complicated. It's not the same language. I also have difficulty when it comes to neurotypical people. I cannot say for sure how I can help you in this part because for me, sometimes I also feel abandoned or rejected just because people refuse to seek more, learn more, understand more about me. And I feel, I know they accepted it, but still, I hope they learn it on their own. Just how I learn it on my own about them. But you know what? neurotypical people, they have another problems, another issue yang macam hidden from our side. Okay, when things like that happen kan, bila kita ada conflict with neurotypical people and we cannot understand their POV, I will say this to myself. Neurotypical people has issue yang bukan our issue. Sometimes benda yang kita rasa problem is not their problem. And most of the time, benda yang diorang rasa problem is not even a problem to us. So, for me kan, diorang tengah, I always gonna think yang diorang ada benda lain yang diorang kena selesaikan to the point diorang tak boleh nak tengok my way. Even though that person is my own mom, that person is my own sister, it's fine. So, I will take my time, understand myself so I can explain to them. For example, this one time kan, bunga api tu bunyi kuat and then I tengah solat Jumaat dengan mak I. And then I know she will get mad sebab I baca kuat. Sebab I nak lawan balik bunga api tu sebab my sensory is overwhelmed. So I said to her, sorry kakak baca kuat. Sebab ADHD people, sebab kakak tak boleh filter bunyi background dengan bunyi suara kakak sendiri. So kakak kena baca kuat supaya kakak boleh dengar suara kakak sendiri. Kakak minta maaf sangat-sangat. So that's how she understand that I will baca kuat kalau ada bunyi, banyak sangat bunyi kat belakang. And then she will not be mad at me. So I think kan, I know our love language is different from them. But it could be yang kita boleh try understand their love language too. Okay, I understand. I validate your feeling. I understand totally. I also know how does that feels to be macam abandoned, macam being left out from being learn about, macam orang tak nak belajar pasal kita. I know how does that feel. Macam I kena bagi tahu exactly why is that things by things. Kenapa I buat something to my moms instead of dia baca buku pasal dia buat research for me. No, I have to do my own research and I have to explain to her. So, but maybe also that is their love language. Their love language is probably just accepting us the way that we are. I hope I can at least macam help you on this. Is my explanation good enough? It literally macam faham diri sendiri. I understand that there is macam RSD tu rasa macam rejected tu. Yes, there is there. Tapi
bukan apa, sometimes you rasa macam kena justify everything, faham tak? Bila you cakap, oh this is because of my ADHD, this is because of my brain, dia orang akan cakap macam, oh orang lain pun ada their own problem. Faham tak? Faham tak? Like that, macam tu. Macam somehow they want to say I'm normal. So okay, so I said okay, then accept me macam I ni lah. Maksudnya I dah macam ni, so jangan ubah apa-apa pasal I. Because bila I cakap pasal you, apa benda yang I tak suka pasal you kena ubah ni, ubah tu, ubah ni. You cakap, I'm being born like this. Faham tak? I dah dibesarkan macam ni, I memang macam tu. So, you tak boleh nak ubah I. So, the same thing lah. Why you tak boleh bagi the same treatment? Kenapa ada macam standard kat situ? Faham tak? Like macam neurotypical, suruh kita terima diorang sebab that's how they think. Tapi bila kita think that in our way, diorang macam like, kenapa kau fikir macam tu? Faham tak? Like kenapa kau tak? Macam tu lah. I don't know.
I get it. It's good enough. Memang unfair. I admit it. Sebab kita belajar semua benda pasal neurotypical, tapi neurotypical tak kisah pasal kita. It seems like a villain story from our side kan. Memang betul. I totally agree with you. Tapi kan, I want to share something tau. The thing is, kira tak kalau I cakap, people around us will change towards what we saya cakap for me in my life kan, the person that I am around is not always the same. Okay? So if I know it's really hard when it is your mom and you cannot change her and stuff. But I think even though we cannot really I cannot say for myself macam kita kena bagi our parents exception kan. But that is the reality. Literally some people Allah give them their parents as the test. Tapi kalau you cakap pasal orang, kalau you cakap pasal kawan-kawan you kan, you don't you don't expect a gold, you don't expect a gold to be paid by shillings. So contoh maksudnya macam kalau you nak something macam people who actually, you need to be selective tau. You want people who understand you. Macam I pun, even I sendiri, I actually experienced this. People around me doesn't give a shit about me. Worse, they bullied me, they ridicule me, they say mean things about me. And I said I'll change. So I am changing even now. So I change and people around me change. So when people treat you like that and you think it's unfair and I deserve more, totally, you deserve everything, babe. I totally up with you. So you show yourself first, okay? You don't focus external. External problem is external. Tapi kan bila internal problem, okay? It's internal. It start with you. Bila you tak puas hati benda tu jadi sebab orang ni macam ni, you don't balas balik. Okay? You strive. You look into yourself and kind of macam, do I really want to spend my whole life arguing with this person, or do I want to spend it towards a more quality circle? Okay, one day kan, I'm gonna say it to you, I'm gonna say it to all of us, but I know a lot of us is macam young people kan. One day we also gonna depart from our parents. The idea is to marriage, to death, or other way. Okay? So tahan je. Kalau dengan parents memang tahan je. Kalau dengan kawan, better you cari better circle by bettering yourself first. You yourself first to be better, so that you can one day macam, okay, actually kan, I didn't come here easily tau. I went through a lot of whole of ordeal before I even meet you guys. So memang if I'm gonna be honest, it's not easy. That's how changes is. Changes is also not easy, but the reward is gonna be extremely sweet. And you just cannot, right now you cannot justify kenapa I cakap macam ni, kenapa kita pula yang kena berubah. Tapi seriously, kalau kita tak macam awal-awal tadi I cakap, kita hanya boleh we will teach other people to treat us by the way that we treat ourselves. So kalau kita tak boleh nak cakap diri kita, you know what, you deserve better. For example kan, Zahira, you deserve better. You tak boleh cakap, you cakap kat diri you sendiri, you deserve better. This is unfair. I don't want this. I want better. The moment you cakap macam tu and your subconscious tangkap, insyaAllah you're going to be with a better person that actually have the qualification that you want. Macam tu. Is that answering your question?
Thank you, Colonel. Oh, Nisa, thank you.
Okay, is there any other question? Because we are like entering midnight, right? So I think are ready. Is there any, so one last question before I close the session?
Tak ada question, but appreciation. Like, thank you so much, Nisa, for sharing this. I mean, like, really membantu, membuka minda and everything. So I hope looking forward more untuk this kind of thing lah. Macam tu. Yeah.
Oh my god. Thank you also so dengan Bebel for like really long hours. Really tough on you guys. Know that. But I really appreciate it. And also I hope in the next session I can be more savvy with my time. Tapi itulah, kalau info dumping memang I susah nak tahan diri sendiri daripada keluarkan semua fakta yang I tahu. So that's why it's called info dumping and not macam explanation ke video ke. Okay. Thank you so much you guys for attending. Thank you so much you guys for support and also the love and also the response, the questions, everything. Okay, your presence means a lot to me. And I hope for next time we can I can be more attentive to you guys and in the chat, and I will for sure take note on to chat each time I finish a topic. Thank you guys for coming, and I hope you guys learn a lot of things. Even if it's not a lot of things, at least you guys learn something from at least one thing from my talk today. And Have a good night. Goodbye.
Goodbye,
Thank you.
Lisa. Good night.
Bye. Good night. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, you too. Sweet dream.
Assalamualaikum.